Take the exit. Turn right into the drive-thru.
Nope, I'm making dinner tonight.
You don't have time. Josh has practice.
Oh, that's right. I'll just get a salad.
And fries?
No, just the salad.
But salad cancels fries.
Salad only.
Fries.
Salad.
Fries.
Food noise isn't fair, but Mochi Health is. The affordable GLP-1 source that puts you on the road to successful weight loss.
Hey, can I get the...
Fries.
Salad. Sorry.
Learn more at joinmochi.com. Mochi members have access to licensed physicians and nutritionists. Results may vary.
This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Shopify. Starting a business is filled with a lot of what-ifs. What if I fail? What if nobody listens to the podcast? What if nobody cares? It can definitely be hard to get over that doubt and uncertainty, but making that leap was one of the best things I've ever done, and it's great to know that I'm not alone with a business partner like Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Heinz and Mattel to brands just getting started. And I'm telling you, their tools really do feel like you have a business partner. They have hundreds of ready-to-use templates to help build a beautiful online store that matches your brand. You can also get the word out like you have an entire marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And if you get stuck, Shopify is always there to help with their award-winning 24/7 customer service. It's time to turn those what-ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/justice. Go to shopify.com/justice. That's shopify.com/justice.
Voices for Justice is a podcast that uses adult language and discusses sensitive and potentially triggering topics, including violence, abuse, and murder. This podcast may not be appropriate for younger audiences. All parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Some names have been changed or omitted per their request or for safety purposes. Listener discretion is advised.
My name is Sarah Turney, and this is Voices for Justice. Today I'm discussing the murder of 24-year-old Evelyn Hernandez and the disappearance of her 5-year-old son, Alex Hernandez. On May 1st, 2002, Evelyn was very pregnant with her second son, literally just a week away from her due date. The day Evelyn and Alex went missing was really just like any other. That morning, Evelyn called one of her sisters, then dropped Alex off at preschool, ran a few errands, picked Alex back up, and she ended the night by talking to her other sister about her upcoming baby shower. Now, it wasn't an easy pregnancy for Evelyn. She had worked as a vocational nurse, at Costco, and at the Clift Hotel in San Francisco's Union Square. But she eventually suffered complications with her pregnancy and was on disability by the end of it. On top of all of that, when she was about 4 months pregnant, she discovered that the father of her child, 36-year-old Herman Aguilera, was hiding a huge secret from her. He was actually married. But it seems like Evelyn was somehow juggling all her responsibilities and holding it together. She was planning for the baby shower, and even had a name picked out for the new baby, Fernando. But after Evelyn hangs up with her sister, as Evelyn's due date approaches, she stops answering phone calls and stops taking Alex to school. About a week after that phone call with her sister, on May 7th, Evelyn's due date, Herman Aguilera reported her and Alex missing to the police. Then, just a few weeks later in July, Evelyn's partial remains were found in the San Francisco Bay. She'd been murdered. Her unborn son and Alex have never been found. This is the case of Evelyn and Alex Hernandez. On May 7, 2002, Herman Aguilera reported the mother of his unborn child, 24-year-old Evelyn Hernandez, along with her 5-year-old son, Alexis Geraldo Hernandez, also known as Alex, missing. He explained that Evelyn was 9 months pregnant and actually due to give birth that same day. According to reporting by Jackson Vanderbecken for SF-Gate, Aguilera said he'd last seen Evelyn and Alex about a week prior on April 30th. On that day, he says he went to IKEA to shop for Evelyn and buy a bed for Alex, After that, he met Evelyn at San Francisco General Hospital for a prenatal exam, and then took Evelyn home, where he assembled Alex's new bed. After that, he says he picked up Alex from school, drove him home to Evelyn, and then left. Aguilera says he never saw or heard from Alex or Evelyn after that. So detectives with the San Francisco Police Department get to work, and they were able to put together a timeline for May 1st pretty quickly. It seems that morning Evelyn spoke to her sister Olivia. They discussed Evelyn not feeling very well and having pain in her stomach, and this seemed to go far beyond just discomfort with pregnancy. Evelyn had complications so severe she was unable to continue working. And while Alex's school was just a few miles away from their home in San Francisco's Crocker Amazon neighborhood, Evelyn didn't have a car, so she typically used public transportation to take Alex to and from school every day. Detectives did see that Evelyn left her apartment that morning, dropped Alex off at Buena Vista Elementary School, and then took a bus to the bank to make a deposit. She then bought a new wallet at a Ross store before picking Alex back up from school and going home. At around 6, Evelyn got her mail, including a disability benefits check. About 3 hours later, around 9, she called her other sister in Richmond to talk about the upcoming baby shower her family planned for her, and specifically about transportation for the party. After their chat, they said goodnight, and Evelyn hung up. But the next morning, Evelyn didn't take Alex to school, and no one had heard from them since. So at this point, detectives begin to dig deeper into Evelyn's past in hopes of finding any clues to where she may have gone or where Alex may be. They learned that when Evelyn was 14, she immigrated to the United States from El Salvador to live with her mother and her sister. She attended McAteer High School in San Francisco. Now, in reporting by Ron Harris for the Associated Press in 2002 about her high school closing, he says it was, quote, an educational dumping ground where poorly performing students were often assigned. And San Francisco School's superintendent Arlene Ackerman says the school closing was in the best interest of the children after a long-standing reputation of underperforming. But Evelyn kept busy and found a community outside of school at a local youth center. A mentor from the center told People magazine, quote, at first she was a shy, simple girl, but I could see she was intelligent. She studied hard and was responsible. They say that once Evelyn felt more comfortable, she started showing interest in acting and performed in plays at the center. Eventually, Evelyn graduated from high school and had her son Alex. Now, not much is known about Alex's father, but according to the Charlie Project, he served in the Navy, and it doesn't appear that he played much of a role in Alex's life. While everyone said Evelyn loved being a mom, her friend did tell People magazine that she was lonely. Around 1998, Evelyn started dating Herman Aguilera, who was 12 years older than her. He worked as a limo driver and an airline mechanic for United Airlines at the San Francisco International Airport. Then, in late 2001, Evelyn got pregnant with Aguilera's son, who they planned to name Fernando. But a friend of Evelyn told ABC News that Aguilera didn't really react well to this news. And at this point, he was kind of realizing that things with Evelyn were becoming more serious than he wanted them to be. They say that he started acting kind of weird, so concerned and now 4 months pregnant, Evelyn calls Aguilera's mother. And she tells her that her son is probably not reacting well to this pregnancy because he's already married. Now, detectives were later able to determine that Aguilera's wife knew about his relationship with Evelyn, but she said she did not know about the pregnancy. As time went on, Evelyn made the decision to end the romantic relationship with Aguilera, but she did agree to allow him to see their son once he was born. Holly Pera with the San Francisco PD told the San Francisco Chronicle that it was Evelyn's decision to end things, but, quote, it caused some friction because he was paying for her apartment and wanted to be able to stay there, but she wanted to get on with her life. She thought she had no future with him.
This episode of Voices for Justice is brought to you by Quince. I've been trying to be more intentional about what I wear each day. I'm leaning into pieces that feel effortless, comfortable, and still put together, and Quince has been my go-to. The fabrics feel elevated, the fits are flattering, and everything just works without overthinking it.
They use premium materials like 100% European linen, organic cotton, and ultra-soft denim. And the best part? Everything is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup. I recently just ordered their tiered linen dress, of course in black. I wanted to pair it with one of my favorite pairs of brown wedges. The problem was, I didn't have a brown purse. So I got that from Quince too. It's one of my favorite outfits. It's easy, effortless, and feels amazing, especially as we're getting a little bit warmer here in Phoenix. Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/justice for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/justice for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/justice. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Chewy. If you have pets, you probably know about Chewy, and you also know that when they say that they have everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy, they're not messing around. To keep them happy, Chewy has over 100,000 products from all the brands my pets love at prices I love. To keep them healthy, Chewy offers pet prescriptions, pet insurance, telehealth vet visits, and they're even rolling out vet clinics across the country. I've been shopping with them for a very long time. And in addition to the auto-ship feature that gets the dog's food to them every single month, I also love to experiment with different treats. But I'm a bit picky. For me, it has to be high quality with simple ingredients. I recently picked up treats from Shepherd Boy Farms that are 100% just chicken breast. Popcorn and Heber are already obsessed. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. And right now, you can save $20 on your first order and get free shipping by going to chewpanions.chewy.com/SarahETurney. That's chewpanions.chewy.com/SarahETurney to save $20 on your first order with free shipping. chewpanions.chewy.com/SarahETurney. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details. After learning all this information, the police theorized that maybe Evelyn left voluntarily to escape Aguilera and to have the baby. So they started contacting hospitals. They reached out to friends and family both in the US and El Salvador. They reached out to medical examiners in every county in California and 2 in Nevada, but no one reported seeing anyone that matched Evelyn or Alex's description. So after looking into Aguilera, calling medical examiners, calling hospitals, detectives turn their eye to Alex's father. And they do locate him. He was living in Puerto Rico. But after speaking to him, he is not considered a suspect in the case. And as far as we know, that's really the last the public hears about him. But finally, a few days into the investigation, police get a major break in the case when someone finds Evelyn's wallet. That new wallet that she bought on May 1st. Now, this person did try to get a hold of Evelyn and return the wallet, but they obviously couldn't get a hold of her and later turned it into the police. When police realized that the wallet was Evelyn's and speak to the person who found it, they discovered that it was found in a gutter on Linden Avenue. And the reason I'm emphasizing it is because this area was not new to police. It was actually just about 2 blocks from where Aguilera worked at the limousine company. And inside the wallet were 2 $20 bills and her disability check. Now, this tells them a few things. Obviously, the location is cause for concern about Aguilera's possible involvement. And since there was still $40 in the wallet, it didn't really seem that robbery was a plausible explanation for Evelyn or Alex being met with foul play. Also, it tells them that Evelyn was never able to deposit that check, money she might need if she really did plan to leave Aguilera to have the baby. So of course, detectives go out to the spot where the wallet was found. They searched, they brought dogs, but they didn't find anything. And we do know that they also searched Evelyn's home. They found her and Alex's passports, but her cell phone was gone, and as far as I could find, it has never been recovered. And this is another case where the police aren't releasing a ton of information, so I can't even tell you if they have her cell phone records. And it really seems that at this point is when police start to change their mind about what they think might have happened to Evelyn. They tell the media, quote, "We're definitely concerned there might be foul play. They have just vanished. At this point, detectives bring Aguilera back in for a voluntary interview, and his story starts to change. Initially, he had said that he and Evelyn didn't really have any problems, but he eventually admitted that there were some, quote, tensions. And that's not the only part of his story that changed. He told detectives that on the night of May 1st, he did try calling Evelyn several times, but she didn't answer. He told detectives that he did not go to her apartment to check on her, but he later changed his story and said that he did drive to her apartment. But then he thought maybe she was avoiding him, so he went home. He also said that he called the hospital where Evelyn was supposed to give birth, but she wasn't there. Once police were fairly certain that Evelyn and Alex had been met with foul play, they held their first news conference regarding their disappearances. It had been more than a month since they went missing, and this decision to wait to notify the public has been widely criticized. Holly Pera, again with San Francisco PD, later told the San Francisco Chronicle, quote, "It's hard to turn back the clock and get what we could have gotten if we had major publicity from the get-go." But even with this news conference, the case got very little media attention. That is, at least until Evelyn's remains were found, and people began to speculate that her case may have been linked with another similar, but much more high-profile case.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or dsw.com today and let us surprise you.
On July 24th, 2002, almost 3 months after Evelyn Hernandez and her 5-year-old son Alex went missing, part of Evelyn's torso and her legs were discovered floating in the San Francisco Bay. She was identified using DNA gathered from her toothbrush. Alex and Evelyn's unborn baby were not found. According to the autopsy report, there were no signs of amputation or any sharp or blunt force injuries. While her cause of death was ultimately deemed to be undetermined, the police believe she was murdered, and the mayor's office established a $10,000 reward. After finding Evelyn's partial remains, the police assumed Alex also might be deceased, but Evelyn's family remained hopeful that he might be found, and were obviously pushing for the police to keep looking. At a memorial service for Evelyn, one of her loved ones held up a sign with a photo of Alex, asking, quote, "Where is Alex? Wasn't this investigation important?" Detectives who attended the memorial service spoke to the media and answered these questions, saying, quote, "We don't know where Alex is. Is this important? Yes, it's extremely important. There's 3 victims here." Herman Aguilera's attorney told the media that he was deeply saddened by the news of his close friend's death and hoped the police department would find the person responsible. The attorney also mentioned that Aguilera had cooperated with police in every possible way. Though, to counter that, Holly Pera from the San Francisco PD says Aguilera refused to speak with detectives after the case was transferred from the Missing Persons Unit to the Homicide Division. Now, despite all these revelations, the media still didn't really pick up this story. That is, until Lacey Peterson went missing near the end of 2002. Of course, you might be familiar with the Lacey Peterson case, but if not, here's a quick recap. 27-year-old Lacey Peterson was 8 months pregnant when she went missing on Christmas Eve 2002 from Modesto, California, and the media jumped on her story. It seemed like everyone was talking about Lacey's disappearance and the possibility of her husband Scott being involved. Now, although there were some similarities between Lacey and Evelyn's cases, the way the media responded to these cases was very, very different. While pretty much every news outlet was reporting on Lacey's case, there were very few newspaper articles about Evelyn and Alex until Lacey went missing. Even then, Evelyn is often mentioned as kind of an afterthought. And the San Francisco Chronicle even acknowledged this. They said that before Scott Peterson's arrest, they'd published 32 stories about Lacey since she was reported missing, with 4 of them being on the front page. In contrast, they only published 4 articles about Evelyn and Alex, and none of them made it to the front page. Evelyn's sister Olivia told People, quote, "The police and journalists ignored my sister because she was poor and from El Salvador." Evelyn's friend further told the San Francisco Chronicle, quote, "Who cares about Evelyn? The first time I heard Lacey's case, I got flashbacks from Evelyn because it is the same case. That's very hard to see, why one gets more attention than the other." And in Evelyn and Alex's case, the police spoke directly about this issue. According to the police, they found it embarrassing that there wasn't more media coverage. They stated, quote, "We've pushed and asked for and received as much as we possibly could, but we don't make the decision about what gets covered and what doesn't." So basically, the police say that they tried, but the media just wouldn't cover it. Then, in April 2003, Lacey Peterson's body was discovered in the San Francisco Bay. Lacey's husband Scott was quickly arrested and charged with first-degree murder for Lacey and second-degree murder for their unborn son. And the reason I mention this is because after Scott's arrest, the cases became even more intertwined. It was reported by the Modesto Bee that during the legal proceedings, Scott's defense attorneys argued that they should have access to the police files on Evelyn and Alex's case. They said it might point to the actual perpetrators of Lacey Peterson's murder. They argued that both women might have been killed by a satanic cult. But the police absolutely opposed this. They said that sharing that file would not help solve Lacey's case. They further argued that the files containing information only known to Evelyn's killer and disclosing it might prevent the killer from ever being held accountable. They maintained that there was just no information in the files connecting Evelyn and Lacey, and eventually these requests were denied by the Superior Court. They said that it was highly speculative to believe Evelyn's file would have any information about Lacey. On May 2, 2003, just over a year after Evelyn and Alex went missing, their family held a news conference seeking the public's help in solving the case. A friend of Evelyn stated, quote, "We're not going to stop until we know what happened. We want to pressure police to keep investigating." And here we get a little more information about Herman Aguilera. Evelyn's sister Reina described Aguilera as very unlikable. She also said that he had a second girlfriend. Reina also described that the couple had frequent arguments right before Evelyn went missing. Now, Reina did not accuse him of killing Evelyn, but she did request that the police continue their investigation into him. Now, at this point, the police say that there are no suspects and there are no leads, but they do believe that Alex probably faced the same fate as his mom. They emphasized, quote, "At this point, it's going to take people to come forward and remember something."
What they did to your family, you're lucky to make it out alive.
Streaming on Peacock.
These men are going to come after me. Taking them out is my only chance.
Put a bullet in her head.
From the co-creator of Ozark.
Looks like a family was running drugs.
Execution-style killing, it's rare for the Keys. Any leads on who they might have been running for?
The cartel killed my family. I'm gonna kill them. All of them.
MIA. Streaming now. Only on Peacock.
In addition to this press conference, Evelyn's family and friends gathered near where Evelyn's body was found. They burned incense, sang songs, and tossed bouquets of flowers into the bay. Then, a few months later, in July 2003, police gave an update to People magazine, stating, quote, We're watching the boyfriend. We don't have enough credible evidence to charge him with anything. And unfortunately, as these things sometimes go, the updates get further and further apart. In May 2004, Evelyn's family held another press conference. And forgive me for getting emotional. I always say that if I stop getting emotional, I should quit true crime. So this press conference was held outside of Alex's school, Buena Vista Elementary. And they did this on purpose to bring attention to the fact that Evelyn's murder and Alex's disappearance were still unsolved. A close friend of Evelyn expressed, quote, "We don't know what happened to Alex. He could be in another country, or maybe he died the same as Evelyn. I think it took a long time for everybody to follow the case, so it's more difficult." The police also told the media that they wanted to speak to Aguilera as a person of interest. But as far as my team could find, that hasn't happened. Or if it has, that information has not been released to the public. Despite the lack of media attention, it does seem like people in this area care. About 2 years later, in September 2006, the San Francisco Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice offered a $100,000 reward in Evelyn and Alex's case. But unfortunately, that is pretty much where the case is today. As of this recording, Evelyn's murder remains unsolved, and her 5-year-old son Alex and her unborn child Fernando are still missing. Which brings me right to our call to action. Authorities are holding out hope that someone will come forward in this case, that maybe someone saw something they just can't remember, and seeing Evelyn or Alex's photo might spark that memory. That maybe while going through old photos or old videos, someone can spot the pair. I know that might sound very optimistic, but stranger things have happened in true crime. And in my mind, there's no reason not to hold out that same hope that Evelyn's family does. If they can endure all of this and remain hopeful, I think we can too. So please share Evelyn and Alex's story. So please share this story. We can't go back and create that media attention that they needed early on, but we can do something now. Someone out there knows something, and it's time they come forward. As a reminder, Evelyn and Alex Hernandez were last heard from around 9 p.m. on May 1st, 2002, in San Francisco, California. Evelyn's partial remains were found on July 24th, 2002, in the San Francisco Bay. Evelyn was 24 years old when she was murdered and had brown hair and brown eyes. At the time of his disappearance, 5-year-old Alexis, or Alex as he was more commonly known, was 4 feet tall, weighed 45 pounds, and had brown hair and brown eyes. Anyone with information is asked to contact the San Francisco Police Department Cold Case Unit at 415-553-1450. But as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time. Voices for Justice is hosted and produced by me, Sarah Turney, and is a Voices for Justice media original. This episode contains writing and research assistance by Haley Gray. If you love what we do here, please don't forget to follow, rate, and review the show in your podcast player. It helps us, and more importantly, it helps more people find these cases in need of justice. Welcome to the secret after show. The door is open, the AC is back on because it is hot again in Arizona. But let's talk about Evelyn and Alex. Now, I think I already harped on the fact that there was no media coverage and just how much that potentially affected this case. You know, to see police even say that is, I think it's helpful. You know what I mean? I think it's really helpful to have police come out and be like, we tried. Why won't the media cover this? And then it's really the media that has to answer for that. And, you know, I think what I want to say about that, I just want to say you guys have the power to change this. And it sounds silly, right? But you can change this with your listens, with your shares. I mean, major media isn't the only way to get the word out anymore. And the more traction cases like Evelyn and Alex's gain through independent content creation like podcasting, the more likely one of the larger networks will pick it up and share it with their audience. While you don't get to choose the cases that they feature, that I feature, I think we know that they definitely pick cases based on what they think people will watch, listen to, read, whatever. I mean, like Josh Hallmark said last week in the call to action, I think we just need to spend more time with these cases, to share them, talk about them, comment on them. It's all a huge ripple effect, and I think we know, again, media pressure moves mountains. So please, please take a second and share this case. Okay, now I do have some, questions about this case that obviously you guys can't answer. But, you know, again, I talked about so little media coverage. The police really haven't released a lot of information on this case. So one of my questions was, I was wondering what time Alex got out of school, because I think that might change kind of the timeline for the day that they went missing, right? That last day, I'm wondering, because he was in preschool, and I know that most kids in preschool who are 5 or whatever have a half day. They usually don't have a full day at school, at least here in Arizona from the kids I know. But yeah, I feel like that could change things. And also, did the police verify with the school that that's who picked him up? And I know also, for smaller kids in preschool and kindergarten, it's not usually, again, at least here in Arizona, it's not usually a situation where you go into a long pickup line and the kids just come to your car. I know that when I was picking up kids from, preschool and kindergarten, you had to physically go into the class and, see them. So I just wonder if anybody saw him that day, and also what the timeline was. It could be nothing. I just think it's interesting that that information isn't out there. And I have to hope that the police have that information and it's just us left wondering. Another really small, again, I'm sure this wouldn't make a difference, but something that I was left wondering was if the police checked with the office that issued Evelyn's disability check to see if maybe, she lost her wallet before she was killed, and that, possibly she asked for a new check to be issued. Admittedly, I think the chances are pretty slim, unfortunately. But again, just something I was left wondering. Just another unanswered question. And before I move on from Evelyn and Alex's case to talk about all sorts of things, this can be a long one. Get ready, strap in, get a snack, whatever you gotta do. I have another statement, and I just want to say, when you find things or see things on the side of the road, like a cell phone or a wallet, turn it in. Turn it in. I feel like, and gosh, I don't have obviously all the information in front of me. I've not been tracking this, but I feel like we've talked about a few cases that have been kind of, furthered, if you will, by people turning in things like wallets and cell phones. So again, I just implore you, in an effort to help all these cases, and it could be nothing. I'm sure 90% of the time it's probably just nothing. But if you see something like a cell phone, a wallet, a random piece of clothing, whatever it might be, it's better safe than sorry. Just call the police. Call, obviously the non-emergency line. We don't need to be clogging up 911 or whatever. But if you think it could be important or belong to someone, it's just worth turning in. It could be the difference between a case sitting cold and a case getting solved. All right, on to what's going on with me, what I'm reading, what I'm watching, what's happening, I guess, as this segment is just like what's going on with Sarah. So I will say that in terms of what I'm reading, Laura Norton's book, Lay Them to Rest, has finally come out. Please go check it out. Laura does amazing work in this space. She's helping identify people. She's working closely with police, closely with these families. So if you're just like into supporting people who do good work in this business, go check it out. Her book is really cool. I like, you learn so much. The family was happy with it. It's something that I am proud to promote. I will also say that this isn't exactly true crime related. I mean, you could argue, I guess, with the conservatorship, right? But I pre-ordered Britney Spears' book, and I am very interested in reading that. I am so glad she's getting her own story out there. I know that there's a lot of feelings about Miss Spears or whatever, but as a longtime stan, as a original Britney stan, I'm going to read that book. And I think, you know, even the idea of her being exploited is so applicable to so many things in true crime. And I'm not going to go on a big rant. I know, shock. I know. But yeah, I'm interested to read it, and I might talk about it here, so get ready. If you don't like it, you can, I don't know, turn it off. I mean, please don't. Please keep listening to the show. But again, I think that there could be lessons learned. The people around her really did seem to allegedly take advantage of her. And so I'm really interested to see how all this turns out. Okay, on to more stuff that's happening with me. I recently went on Kendall Rae's channel. If you guys don't know Kendall Rae, she is a YouTuber, now podcaster, all-around great person that cares in true crime. I first worked with her in 2018 on Alyssa's case, and she, I mean, to this day, one of the biggest recommendations, or, you know, when people say, I found you, they say, I found you through Kendall Rae. That is one of the biggest referrals I get to this day. Kendall also literally created #Justice for Alyssa, so she has been huge in this movement. She's been a big supporter of mine for a long time, and I trust her. So, she invited me back to come on her main channel, which she, like, it's cool. Like, she's never really done that format before, so I'm so thankful. And we talk about a lot, you know what I mean? And this will be probably one of, if not the last interview I do before putting out my own content about Alyssa. It's just, it's hard. I'm being totally honest with you. Even right now, talking about it, I, like, don't know how to tell this story yet. And it's like when I first started working for Alyssa, and I first started telling her story, I felt really like all over the place. I always like criticized myself. I was like, I didn't tell it right. I left out this part, or I left out that part. I didn't ask this question, whatever it might have been. And that's how I feel talking about the trial now. You know, of course, over time, I got better at telling Alyssa's story because, my God, I told it, you know, 100+ times or whatever on podcasts and YouTube and the news and TikToks and all that. So now I'm in this new place of where, one, it's still extremely uncomfortable for me to talk about myself, but I do think that there's value in my story, and I'm trying my best to tell it. But two, I haven't told it that much, but go over there. It's, I think it's a good interview. You know, and we talk about a lot, and as a little preview, I will say there were some crazy situations during trial that I've never talked about. You know, specifically, I had kind of alluded to it, but, the targeted attacks against me by the defense. And I talk about some of the worst, right? Like, one was, I had to read this, and I'm sure I'll like read it on the podcast, but I had to read this legal document that, was basically like the defense's points for why Alyssa didn't love me enough to stay, which is just one of the fucking worst, horrendous things that a family member can read. On top of that, another really insane thing that happened was Mr. Thomas Heimer came back in the picture, you guys, and it was the worst. I am not exaggerating when I say it was the worst. I got a letter from him one day in the mail, and, you know, there was a lot in that letter, but the gist of it was, I have information about Alyssa, but I will only tell you. And of course, my dad's lawyers jumped all over that and made all sorts of crazy accusations about me being possibly involved, me maybe like knowing information. And it was just insane. And Thomas Heimer proceeded to continue to call me every day as well. And of course, like, I turn the letter right over. Like, I say in the interview, like, this stuff's like hot potato to me. Like, I don't want it. Like, of course I read it, right? And then immediately I'm like, hi, I got this letter. Like, please take it. I don't want it. And then I didn't respond. Heimer continues to call me, you know, every day, multiple times a day. And I go to the state and I'm like, can I block his number? Like, this is awful. And they're like, no, you know, we need to like have a record of when he's calling, blah, blah, blah. They did eventually let me block his number. But yeah, that was awful. And to be accused of like, I was accused of everything under the sun, of being involved with Thomas Heimer, of being an agent of the police in the state. And even somebody called or left a tip, whatever, and said, Alyssa Turney is alive and well in some other state, and her sister Sarah knows. And they actually went out and gave a test to some poor woman who was obviously not Alyssa. And just, you guys, it was... And again, I'm so bad at telling this story because I'm still processing. Like, let's be honest, it's only been a few months, and that's just not how healing works. You don't just like get over it. But yeah, it was absolutely horrendous. And, you know, I explained it a little on the podcast or on her YouTube channel. But, you know, all those attacks against me, trying to get the media taken down, saying I was working with the police, saying I was working with the state, saying I was working with Thomas Heimer, saying that possibly I knew Alyssa was alive and well. The defense was attacking me, and the state knew that. And, you know, when I would ask for more clarity about what was going on with the trial, I was told, well, you know, they're attacking you so hard right now. You know, we really don't want to like face accusations that we're working together, that this, you know, this is somehow like inappropriate, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to keep you in the dark. And I will say to this day, I don't know if that was really what was going on, or if they were really trying to just deflect because they weren't focusing on Alyssa's case. I don't know. Hopefully I will get more insight into that with some documents I'm trying to request and all that. But yeah, it was awful. And I talk all about it on Kendall's channel if you want to go see. You know, again, it's by no means everything that happened during the trial, but it is the most in-depth interview I've given so far. So if you're interested, and again, just want to support cool people, go over and check out the video on Kendall Ray's channel. And you guys, I told you this was going to be a long one. I got more to talk about. I don't want to get emotional. The day this episode comes out is also the day that the last episode of Disappearances comes out. We did 100 episodes of that podcast, and I am so, so proud of the work that everyone did over there. You know, obviously working with Spotify and Parcast and, you know, the show Disappearances is so different than Voices for Justice. You know, over there, I have a full team. There's producers and, you know, a ton of researchers and a ton of writers and editors and people who do social media and people who oversee the audio and just a massive team of people that worked together and made that show happen. And, you know, obviously I was the host, but I just can't thank them enough. I learned so much doing that show. I think I learned how to be a better storyteller. I learned more about research. It really helped, I think, elevate all my content. And that feels really conceited to say. You know what I mean? Like working with a professional setup like that for the first time ever really was really, really cool. And I'm really proud of what we did over there. I think that we created something unique, something special, and overall something that I think really helps people. I think it helps reach a new audience. It helps, you know, just get these cases on the map more. So go check out the last episode of Disappearances. I do get a little emotional. I know, we are so surprised by that. But yeah, go check it out. I loved making Disappearances, and thank you to everyone who listened and to everyone who was involved. On to our segment of hope. And of course, if you have been looking at true crime news this week, you know that the Natalie Holloway case has been closed. And this is actually a case, I'm getting emotional. This is actually a case I covered on disappearances. They meant a lot to me. You know, there's so much pain and suffering in that case. That poor family, Beth Holloway. I mean, my heart just goes out to her. And the reason that, you know, this is in the segment of hope that Natalie's case is here is because, like I said, it's been closed, you know, and I know that people have mixed feelings about Johan. He doesn't deserve the respect of me going up and looking how to specifically pronounce his name. Vandersloot, he, got a plea deal. He describes how he supposedly killed Natalie, and there's been a lot of controversy around that. A lot of people think that he's lying, but what I'll say is that Beth Holloway is satisfied with the answers, and that's why it makes the segment of hope that so many years later, she can finally walk away with some peace, at least from her statements. That's what it seems like. So I encourage you, if you do want to say anything about this case online, maybe make sure to send some love her way. She's been through a hell of a lot. She is so brave and so strong, and definitely somebody that needs some love right now. But as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time.